200 years India has waited for its freedom. On a hot day like this, half the country still waits for water, while at night, the other half waits for electricity. However, after what feels like 6 million years, we finally got adventure tourers. Those tall and bare-bone machines that actually give you freedom. We had the Impulse, but it had no engine. People still loved it. Then we had the Himalayan, but it spent most of its time at the workshop. People still adored it. Then the Japs and the Germans decided to join the party, but to buy one, you actually had to postpone your marriage. Check your garage. You still don't have one. It deserves an ADV tourer. Ladies and gentlemen, then say hello to the Benelli TRK 502. Benelli's first adventure tourer in the Indian market. An ADV tourer must look big, imposing, like a modern day dinosaur. And in that sense, the TRK 502 is the perfect specimen. It might not look as imposing as a Ducati Multistrada though, but you'll never miss it on the road because it still has the big ADV bike sex appeal. The build quality is improved as well as compared to other Benellis. The bodywork and the plastic panels feel solid and built to last. However, on closer inspection, one does notice the rough edges. For example, these chassis wells could have been hidden a lot more neatly. You also have this windshield bracket that looks like an afterthought, and this instrument cluster. In a world where everybody is trying to move to TFT screens, this still gets a very dated, plasticky, digital analog console. Even in terms of equipment, there is not a lot to talk about on the TRK 502. You only have a dual channel switchable ABS system by Bosch. There's no TC, CC, BCC or any of that ride-by-wire gizmodo. What is exciting though, just like any other Benelli, is of course the sound. When you thumb the starter, it sounds so sweet, and when you actually take it to higher revs, it is loud and you almost might mistake it for an inline 4 motor. But remember, ladies and gentlemen, that this is a motorcycle that weighs in excess of 230 kilograms. And when you pair that up with the 47.5 PS of power of this 500cc motor, it's not a whole lot, to be honest. I mean, there is good bottom end torque and the mid-range of the motorcycle is the sweet spot. This is a motorcycle that is meant to cruise, and that is where it really comes into its own. You can get the most out of this engine by keeping it in its sweet spot, which is just above 5000 RPM, while you shift through this slick 6-speed gearbox as you sit back, relax and enjoy the TRK 502's biggest takeaway, which is ride comfort. But be warned, vibrations do creep in after this point in spite of Benelli sticking this up with nifty rubber stops. These beefy forks at the front are non-adjustable, but they can really soak up bumps and potholes. Adding to this plush, comfortable ride quality is the well-padded seat, both for the rider as well as the pillion. All fours are pretty comfortable for touring, and I can tell you that because in spite of completing 800 kilometers on the saddle, there is no sign of fatigue or body pain. Highways then are its natural habitat. It doesn't mind a bump or two as well, but show it a corner and the 502 reveals a chink in its armor. As far as handling goes, it responds well to rider inputs, but don't expect any bristling feedback. And then there's the weight. This motorcycle weighs even heavier than the Triumph Tiger 800, and with a full tank of fuel, which is about 20 liters, it is a big problem moving this bike around. Dropping the anchors on this juggernaut are twin 320mm rotors up front and a single 260mm at the rear with switchable ABS. The brakes do a good job with the initial bite and stopping power. Except that there's hardly any progression or feedback, and that can also get a bit unnerving at high speed. The front and top heavy nature of the TRK 502 is very evident under hard braking because of all that weight transfer, and that can hamper your confidence. But then there's the price. The TRK 502 costs 5 lakh rupees. So it already seems you get what you pay for. There is no doubt that the TRK 502 is a great package. It looks radical, has a massive street presence, sounds fantastic, is easy to ride and has an attractive price tag. And to top it all, it's already an accomplished touring motorcycle even with 2-up. It may not be the sharpest ADV tourer motorcycle out there, I'm sure. Less weight, more power would have helped. But ADV tourer motorcycles are all the rage right now and Benelli couldn't have timed this any better. But the question was, is this the adventure touring motorcycle that Indians have been waiting for? Is the wait over? Well, it's only half over. You see, the 502 is a great touring motorcycle. But what about the adventure bit? I cannot think of taking this motorcycle anymore into these woods rather than some light trail carving. That's because Benelli has reserved its off-roading arsenal for the 502's better half.
That's right, Varun. Adventure means getting a 19-inch front, wire spoke wheels, dual sport tires, long travel suspension, pretty much the works. So, if you want to head deeper into the woods, you have to get one of these, the 502X.
Well guys, I would have loved to take this out for a spin, but Priyadarshan called dibs on it. How about you do this? You head down to youtube.com/zigbees and check if the 502X is a better buy for you or not. Until the next one, I am Varun Painter and I will see you later.